There you go. Obligatory vaping scene. There's been some question as to just how efficient the Bottlefillinator or the Cartomizerfillinator is at filling cartomizers. So what I've done is obtained some clear 808 style cartomizers. They're a little bit longer than usual, but they still have a tube running down the center and fill material, and being clear we can actually see just how much of this filling material we're actually filling with this method. So first we'll take a look at the Cartomizerfillinator, then we'll take a look at the Bottlefillinator and see just how well it does. This is a 30 ml bottle of liquid, and this has a Boston round design with a large mouth and a snap-in drip tip, and this is a 3 ml syringe that has been modified into a Cartomizerfillinator. The Cartomizer and the Cartomizerfillinator itself fits into that liquid very well. As you can see, it looks like this is almost filling from the center. It's not filling right from the top as I'm drawing that liquid in, but it's soaking in pretty well at the top and in the center, not at the bottom. This does lend some credence to the theory that what we're doing is bringing liquid up through the tube in the center and it's flowing down, and I guess that was really the question. So one cycle filled it probably 3/4 of the way. The second cycle leaves just a little bit of fill material at the bottom unsaturated. But just for grins, I'm going to go ahead and do a third pull. And as you can see right now, this cartomizer is fully saturated. Now this is with a 3 ml syringe. I normally use a 5 or 6 ml, but I didn't want to use it for this because I can't stick it in the mouth of this particular bottle. With a 3 ml syringe, it took 3 cycles to do it. I think with a 5 or 6 ml syringe, it would probably take just 2. What I'll do at this point is demonstrate the Bottlefillinator. We'll see how it does with the clear cartomizer. Since I already have the cap and the tip off of this bottle, all I have to do is screw on the modified lure lock cap, screw on my adapter, and we'll take this clear cartomizer and put it right in that tube. All I need to do with the Bottlefillinator is give it a little squeeze. Push the liquid up through that needle and into the cartomizer. And once again, that tube in the center does seem to be channeling the fluid up to the top and not directly into the fill material, although you can see the middle of it is getting pretty well saturated. Just like with the Cartomizerfillinator, I think we're going to see that it's going to take a few cycles here in order for it to really fully saturate the cartomizer. The Bottlefillinator is actually not fully saturating all of the material in the bottom of this cartomizer. Now I think if we let that sit for a few minutes, we're going to find that soaks in. We're going to try another experiment with the cartomizer inserted mouthpiece down. See, it's bubbling out of the battery connector, but it is going more directly into the fill material. Well, that's an interesting result. I'm going to set this one aside and let it soak for a few minutes as well. So one more cartomizer, inserted battery end in as I've been doing before. And this time what I'm going to do is give this a squeeze, but I'm going to put my finger over the top. And what I'm hoping that might do is provide a little pressure so the liquid doesn't go straight up to the top of the tube, and hopefully saturates that fill material a little more thoroughly. Again, a little surprising. It's filling the material from the center and working its way up and down. That is not something I would have expected. Now, it looks like that provided a little better result. We got liquid all the way down to the bottom, not completely soaking that, but really darn close. As we can see from these others that have been sitting for just a few minutes, it has not saturated all the way down. It looks like a spin is probably still required to get a really good full fill on these. This was after 3 spins on a Terran spinner, and it looks like that did a pretty good job of getting liquid all the way down to the bottom of the cartomizer. So it looks like with the Bottlefillinator that a little bit of a spin is probably a good idea if you just want to make sure that you've got a fully saturated cartomizer. So what I'm going to do right now is compare the results of drip filling a cartomizer to the Cartomizerfillinator method. Now it looks like that method has completely saturated the fill material, all the way, no spin required. Now there's some excess in here. and you can see that's actually oversaturated. So I'm not sure filling that material all the way to the bottom is necessarily a great thing now that I'm seeing this. Based on the fact that I've got excess liquid that I've got to blow out of here, I'm going to be wasting a little bit of liquid, which I think is a potential hazard with any fill method. Since this particular cartomizer has vertical coils running through the center, the actual coils are probably somewhere here in the middle. So having the bottom of that saturated is probably not necessarily a great benefit. It will, I believe, provide you with a longer vaping time, because that material, or the liquid at the bottom, should be wicked up through the material towards your coils as you vape with it. But as far as actual functionality, I'm not so sure that leaving a small gap at the bottom, like originally happened with these cartomizers that I filled with the Bottlefillinator, I'm not so sure that gap at the bottom is a bad thing. This is several hours after filling these clear cartomizers. I vaped this basically to the point where it started to taste harsh, felt like it needed to be refilled, and it was interesting to observe that almost all the liquid that is left inside this cartomizer is towards the bottom. Now this was the area that was not filled by the Bottlefillinator without having to do a tear and spin afterwards. If most of our cartomizers are starting to taste dry and still leaving this much liquid at the bottom of the cartomizer, I'm not sure there's a lot of great benefit to having to do the tear and spin or come up with a fill method that actually fully saturates the cartomizer. We're still wasting essentially 8 or 10 drops at the bottom of this cartomizer is what it looks like. I'll have to repeat this a few times to make sure that this is a valid observation, but if so, I think using the Bottlefillinator or the Cartomizerfillinator to fill is a perfectly valid method, simply because it's filling the part of the cartomizer that you're actually going to use as you vape it.